Hey guys, welcome back to the Unshakable Founder. My name's Josh. I'm going to jump right into this. This is my journey to my first milestone in my coaching business, which is 10K months. So if this is your first time joining me, I'm glad to have you here. What I do here is I talk about my experiences over the past week and a half. And every episode that I put out is just like a week behind where I am in my business. And I also share a little bit of like personal updates, a little bit about who I am, what I think, and this is just like very honest, very complete, not complete, but like my thoughts on things that are going on in my life, in my business. And I want you guys to get a real picture of what it looks like to build a business from the ground up, because I'm in my bedroom right now, I'm in the closet space, and as I gain more followers, as I grow in terms of my audience, then I'll start to think about changing locations, but I want this to be completely based off the value I provide you based on my experiences. So with that being said, let's get started. This is my notebook. I haven't been doing such a great job lately of taking notes on things that I'm learning, things that I'm going through, because I've just been so busy working on my latest offer that I launched today on Instagram. And that offer is to work with me for 90 days for 5 founding members of my Unshakable Founder system. I'm really excited to be launching this. There's a whole lot I still have to figure out, but this is launching Q3 of this year, which is just about a little over a week away. And I'm ready to take on 5 people who are just getting in their own way. And these are people who are first-time founders, and I'm really excited to run them through my program to help them rewire their mindset, to refocus their energy on what's important, the needle-moving tasks in their business, and to reinforce the new identity that I help them create, which is the Unshakable Founder. That being said, I'm going to start this thing off with what I'm going to be talking about. And let me open my notebook really quick. I'm going to open this with some personal updates first, and I think I have about 3 of them. And then I'm going to be talking about, see, this personal update. I'm going to be talking about willpower, which is something that I kind of listened to on the Diary of a CEO podcast with Steve Bartlett. And then I'm going to be talking about the thing that I believe sets me apart from other coaches, maybe even other entrepreneurs. And I think that's about it here. I have something here that's kind of more politically motivated, but I don't want to get into that because I talked a little bit about something last week. If you guys missed it, check it out. But yeah, this one's going to be hopefully a short one, shorter from my other ones. So starting with quick personal updates. Oh, actually, let me sit up. I'm still feeling really hot because I just got back from the gym and I did a really quick workout. I didn't go this morning, but I still wanted to get a workout in. So I went just before recording this. I jumped in the shower to kind of cool off a bit, and now I'm still feeling like the the energy running through my body from the workout. But that being said, over the past couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, I've been really trying to gain a whole lot of clarity on who it is that I'm helping in my business. And I've come a long way in those past 3 weeks. I've gained so much clarity. I've tapped into the community that I'm a part of with my business coaches. Like, the community there is amazing, which is why the 5 founding members that I bring onto who are going to use my system and jump into my program, I have a private community ready for them to jump into, so that they can share their wins, share their struggles, share their assignments that I have them work on, so that we all kind of see and support each other in our journeys. Because it's such a powerful community, is such a powerful thing, and I want that for my clients. And over the past couple of weeks is when I've truly started to realize how important having a supportive community is, especially of like-minded individuals. So that's one update. A lot of clarity. I want to build a community around my coaching program. It's going to be awesome. What else? I just had my 4-year anniversary with my wife. And so yesterday we both took the day off. I still worked a little bit in the morning and then a little bit in the evening, but for the most part we took the day off. And we took a bike ride from here. I'm in Southern California, and we have a lot of trails around where we live. And we took a really nice bike ride down to the beach, where we hung out around Newport Beach. And if you haven't been around there, it's really, really nice. It was a beautiful day. It was, I'd say, probably like upper 70s in terms of like 70 degrees. And so it was nice. It was a little bit challenging. I had to get the bikes from the back of the garage because we haven't touched them in years. And I was surprised that the tires were still good. I pumped them up, and yeah, they were fine. They lasted the entire way and didn't need to pump up the tires again. But overall, like, we just had a really good time, spending quality time together. I have been so focused for the last, say, like 9 months. So like overly consumed in my thoughts with this business, because I'm trying to start something significant, and I still have all of the excitement of not knowing where this is all going to go, but I know that it's going to change my life and that of my family's life. And that's one of the things that really helps drive me forward. It's this intrinsic motivation to really have an impact, to really provide a service that goes above and beyond for those who work with me. I want to empower so many entrepreneurs and first-time founders in getting them to just believe in themselves, to trust themselves, to have the confidence to know that whatever they tackle, they will have the ability to handle it and to know that they can handle it. They will succeed because they will also be on their own mission. And just having that having that drive to like share that with other people is gonna, I know it's gonna change my life, and and I'm excited to see where it goes. The other update is actually this just came up as I was thinking about it, because I was talking about spending the day with my wife. But for those of you who know and have been watching, money's tight, right? I haven't had an income coming in. I got one paid client. They were a corporate client, and it's not enough to pay the bills. My wife's working full time, but I started looking for a job about a month ago, and I had an interview on Tuesday, which is 2 days ago. I had an interview. It went really well. I got along really well with the architect. It's with a small architecture firm, and I expect things to go in a positive direction. Right now, the architect, she's at a point where she's experiencing rapid growth, and she's kind of letting things fall through the cracks because she hadn't anticipated this amount of growth. And so she's trying to figure out where I can fit into the picture as a part-time employee for her. And so, yeah, I reached out to her that same day that we had the interview, and I said, it was a pleasure to meet you and your team, and looking forward to see how my experience can support you and your team. Let me know if you have any questions. And yeah, and she responded like, give me some time to think about it. I do want to plug you in somewhere. I just need to figure out what that is. So we'll see. That will bring some relief in terms of financial stability for my family, for particularly me and my wife. But the reason why I brought this up was because anytime I go out with my wife, we always, at least I do, and I think she does too, but we always have this feeling in the back of our minds of this financial scarcity, you could call it. Like we don't feel like we have enough. There's this guilt associated with spending with us. because we know that we're not abundant in terms of wealth. Like I would say, I don't actually know where we fall on the spectrum, probably middle class, if not on the lower. I don't know if we're on the lower end or more towards the upper end. I'd say just like middle class probably. But things are getting tighter, and having this guilt associated with spending, like I want to get rid of that. It doesn't help serve in any way other than to realize that we just feel like we don't have enough money. And yesterday I had that feeling when we started our bike ride. I had that feeling in the back of my mind, like we're going to spend money going out to the beach because, we're going to have lunch out there. We're likely going to get, desserts or something. And I could have packed a lunch, put it in a backpack or a cooler or something, tied it to the bikes. But even then, we would still be spending extra money. And as we were riding the bike, my mom sent us a gift. She sent us $100 to enjoy our anniversary. And the sense of relief I felt when she sent that was just, it was both like relief, but also like, how am I not in a position where I can provide for my family? And this is one of the struggles with entrepreneurship in your mid 30s, in your mid 40s, in your mid 50s. Everyone, actually, not a lot of people share this, but you have to go backwards in order to move forward, but exponentially, if that makes sense. Like, I've had to take a hit in our income. We do our taxes together. We file jointly. And so our income has significantly dropped since I left architecture and started pursuing the coaching thing. And the thing is like, I spent most of last year not pursuing the coaching thing, just taking care of my son, because my son was born last year. So I was just a stay-at-home dad, not bringing in any income. I was collecting paternity leave from the state, but that was so little. It helped for sure, but we still had that scarcity feeling. Let me check the time here. We're at 12 minutes. Okay. I'm going to try and keep this to 20 minutes. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you want to go all in on a business, you have to be willing to go backwards in your income and to live on this tight budget, and kind of have in the back of your mind that feeling of financial, not instability, because we're okay. It's just things are starting to get tighter, and in a few more months, things will start to get so tight that we'll have to cut back on a lot more, and it's gonna be uncomfortable. There's no getting around that, unless something happens where I just get all these clients out of nowhere, which is a possibility. I'm not ruling that out. And then also, getting this part-time job at the architecture firm, which I expect to come through in a couple weeks. So we'll see. But you have to be willing to be able to go backwards, to get uncomfortable, and to push through that. Because if you're not willing to do that, then what you say you want isn't worth the price you have to pay to you in order to get it. Does that make sense? There's a cost to everything. And if you're not willing to pay the price, then you can't get the results that you want. You can't get the desired results that you want. You can't celebrate in the achievement that you're looking for because you weren't willing to make that sacrifice. And there are ways of getting around that, right? Like if you stick to the thing you could be doing, and this is an example that I really love, because I kind of wish that I had done a little bit better myself, but I was in so much debt years ago, and I just finished paying off that debt this year, that I couldn't build the runway that I wanted to, but I had, plenty in investments to kind of keep me going. But I'm I'm pretty much tapped out of all of those investments. This is a lot of talking about money. um, I didn't think this would lead into all of this, all of this talk about money, but what you could do is, if you want to keep that steady paycheck, let's say you're working your 9 to 5 and you want to go all in on your business, but you don't want to quite risk that discomfort. The way I see it, you're still going to have to get incredibly uncomfortable while you're still working, and you'll have to scale back on the amount of experiences that you have with your family and the amount of eating out that you do in terms of what you buy from the grocery store. You will have to cut back on all those things, on subscriptions, entertainment subscriptions that you guys have to different streaming platforms, and all that stuff you guys can cut back on in order to add to a savings, like a financial runway that you can then use to quit your job and go all in on your business for 6 to 9 months, or however much money you save, whatever the runway is, so that you can give it a real shot. And I encourage people to do that, to give it a real shot. Yes, it's scary, but worst comes to worst, you just go back to the life that you were living before and try again. Right? What else is there? If your dreams are not worth the pursuit, then you're not dreaming big enough. And achieving something big is going to require a lot of bold moves done in small increments over a long period of time. That's all I'll say about that. I want to talk about willpower. So I heard this story that Steve shared on his podcast about willpower. And I've been going back and forth on whether or not we have an abundance of willpower or whether we have a limited supply of it. And on a daily basis, I would say, yes, we have a limited supply. This is the science that Steve shared. So there was this study that he talked about where a scientist wanted to test how people would do on a test after exerting a certain amount of willpower. And the way they documented this, the way they tested this, was they had 2 groups. One of the groups had vegetables and beets or turnips or something like that, and they had to eat some of it. The other group had some donuts, and they had to eat some of it. And so they had both groups eat whatever was placed in front of them. So there was a group with the donuts, a group with the vegetables. Now the group with the vegetables had to exert more willpower to eat it, because who likes eating vegetables? Right? And I think they were kind of rawish vegetables. People who ate the donuts, they didn't have to, they were all down to eat the donuts. They didn't have to use any kind of willpower to, not hold back from eating the donuts. Afterwards, they each took a test, and it was an impossible test. I can't recall what the actual test was, but what they wanted it to figure out was how long would they work on the test before giving up. And the people who ate the donuts, who didn't have to exert any kind of willpower, they worked on the test for 30 to 40 minutes before they were like, yeah, I don't think we can do this. I mean, I'm happy to continue working on it. But the people that ate the vegetables, they got upset. 5 minutes in, 10 minutes in, they were like, what is this? Why are you having me do this? They got frustrated, and they're like, I'm done. I give up. This test is stupid. Why are we even doing this? They got visibly frustrated, and they quit way earlier. And what the results found was that when you don't have to exert as much willpower, people were willing to work on something else 60% longer than the people who had to exert willpower. And where we can kind of extrapolate these results is if, say, working your 9 to 5 job requires you to use up basically all of your willpower reserves, then coming home and trying to make a change, a positive change in your life, like exercise or eating healthy or reading a book, whatever it is, it's going to be that much more difficult for you to stick with it because you've used all of your willpower trying to just get through the day. And that was an interesting find for me, which is why I think a lot of people suggest doing whatever you can do to change your life at the start of your day, like getting up a little bit earlier. And that's why it's so beneficial to try and get to bed earlier so that you can actually have the energy to wake up earlier. There's a whole world or a whole session I can do on health, your energy management, all of this stuff that can help you achieve more in your life. But that kind of opened my eyes to the fact that it's understandable why someone might not be able to do the things they want to do at the end of the day when they've exerted so much willpower throughout the day. And that's that. We're 21 minutes in, I believe. Yeah. And another thing was willpower over a long period of time. Now I'll keep this short. Maybe willpower is not the right word. Maybe it's like intrinsic motivation, because I've seen, and this kind of leads into my last topic, which is how I believe I'm different from other coaches and entrepreneurs. But the drive to keep going when things get tough. Why haven't I, for example, just quit this coaching thing because I haven't made money in the past 3 months? I haven't made money in the past 3 months. I've in the past 9 months, I've only 1 month I've made money. And most people at this point would have quit. And the reason why I think I'm different from a lot of people who quit so early is because of the things that I teach in my program, which is rewiring my mindset, which requires understanding myself at a deeper level, my motivations, my values, my mission, my vision for my life in the future, the impact I want to make in the world. That is all a huge driving factor to keep me going, to keep me pushing through the pain of all of the things that I'm describing on this channel. It's tough. It's tough going through all of this. But there's no doubt in my mind that when I get to a point where I see the actions performed result in the desired achievement that I'm looking for, my definition of success, there is no doubt in my mind that it will have been worth it. Because nothing great in this life is achieved with little to no effort. And the more work you put into something, the more rewarding the feeling is when you do finally achieve it. And yes, there is absolutely the possibility of not achieving it. But here's a key factor that I believe helps me continue pushing through, even if I don't achieve my ultimate goals, is that the work I'm doing on a daily basis by itself is worth it to me. That's a huge difference. People do things that they hate on a daily basis, and if they don't achieve their goal, they will be so disappointed and frustrated in not having achieved it. But I don't feel that way. I feel that the work that I'm doing on a daily basis, showing up on Instagram, showing up in my stories, showing up here on YouTube, all of it is worth it because of what I believe I'm doing, not just for myself, but for those of you out there who are trying to understand what it's like to start from zero and to build up from there. My first milestone is 10K months, and when I first met my business coaches, I told them I wanted to reach that by the end of 2025, to have at least made a 10K month. I've had 1 month where I've made 2.5K. I'm expecting next month to be, what am I expecting it to be? Around 5K. And that will be split up between 3 months if I'm able to successfully bring on 5 founding members into my program. Once I get those people in and get them rolling, I will finally have the social proof, having run them through my program. And once I have that social proof, I'm going to feel so much more confident after having gotten them results and refined my program, that I can start to upcharge the cost of my program and then start to build from there. I don't know if I'm going to reach my 10K months this year, but I'm going to try anyway. We'll see how it goes. I think that's it for this one. Where are we at? 27 minutes. Every single week this is a learning process for me, okay? These are my real thoughts, and sometimes, I just kind of spitball what those thoughts are on here. I don't always have everything completely organized. This is just my raw, honest thoughts and opinions, I mention all the time. But I am going to try and practice keeping them more concise and explaining things a little bit more simply. So next week, I'm going to commit to, I should say, keeping the video at 15 minutes. Oh, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough, but I'm gonna get back to my writing again. I usually write every morning and throughout the day as things come up, but I got to get back on my writing. And then next week, whatever lessons that I share, the personal updates that I have, I will try to keep it down to 15 minutes, because most of you here only stick around for a minute and a half. So but I expect that to change, as my audience grows, as I get bigger, as people are curious about, who is this guy who succeeded and started, kind of from his 1-bedroom apartment in his closet, So yeah, I'll see you guys next week, and thanks for listening. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week, weekend, evening, wherever you are. I'll see you next week.